New Testament, there are 4 books that we call the Gospels, and they all tell the stories of the life and ministry of Jesus, but they all begin differently. You might be wondering, okay, why do we have 4 different accounts of Jesus' life? Well, they all highlight the same general storyline, but they emerge through different perspectives and for different purposes. And where each one begins has a way of highlighting their subtle differences. The Gospel of Mark, for instance, chooses to begin with Jesus' ministry. Luke, however, starts his account with Jesus' birth, what we're celebrating now. Matthew chooses to root the Jesus story back in Jewish history, and so he begins with a lineage that connects Jesus all the way back to one of their ancient patriarchs, a man named Abraham. But it's the Gospel of John that we read from. The Gospel of John reaches back the furthest. John commences with a poem that immediately triggers our wonder and our amazement. We're transported back to the origin of all things, because as you'll find out if you continue reading, Jesus for John has like cosmological significance. And so it's no coincidence that the first words of John begin the same as the first words of Genesis. Both of them start with, "in the beginning." From the first words of John's account, you can be confident that John is concerned with the very stuff of the universe. He affirms the beliefs of his peers regarding God as the creator, but he introduces a new idea along with it. He talks about a concept simply called the Word. It was kind of a nebulous way to refer to the order and the design and the wisdom that sat behind the created universe, and it was full of light and life. This was not John's new idea. Many of them already look at the world this way. But as John's opening poem unfolds, his audience would have been shocked to find out that this word of light and life is now connected to a human being that existed. So you see it in our reading. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. I mentioned this on Sunday. The great Christian writer C.S. Lewis talks about it as if it's like an author who writes themselves into their own story. It's as if we were characters in a book, and suddenly the sky that we thought contained our reality, suddenly the sky ripped open to allow the author to step in and make a change to where he saw us taking the story in the wrong direction. There's this unforgettable scene at the end of The Truman Show where Truman, played by Jim Carrey, literally has a collision with the edges of his world. So he sails away in what he thought was an infinite sea, only to have the bobbing and pitching of the boat abruptly halted by a wall, the wall of a soundstage. And he realizes how small his existence had been, and that there is a reality far bigger than he could have possibly imagined. And no, we have not crashed our boat into the clouds, and no, our sky hasn't literally been ripped open. But the arrival of Jesus at Christmas is no less earth-shattering and climactic for us. Once again, from our reading, the Word, the reason, the order behind the universe, the Word itself became flesh and made his dwelling among us. So the author enters at Christmas. But if we're honest, we have this habit of just kind of packing up this realization, this watershed moment for humanity, and putting it away like another decoration. Because of course, in January, things just go back to normal, right? But think about this with me. If any of this is true, if any of the passages that we've read tonight are true, if any of the songs that we have sung tonight are true, if any of the warmth that we feel is true, if any of the order and reason that we feel behind it is true, then church, this is everything. If the author really enters, if the word, the order, the reason, the design becomes a part of humanity, if there really was a king born in a cattle stall, then this is everything. This means everything. And I don't just say it that way to sound sensational or over the top. I say it because that's exactly how the story talks about Jesus. He is everything. A few verses earlier in John, it says, through him all things were made. In the book of Hebrews, it says that the universe itself was made through him. The book of Colossians says that it is in Jesus that all things are held together. In the book of Acts, the Apostle Paul makes the claim that it is in Jesus that we live and we move and we have our being. But in John 14, it's Jesus himself who says it best. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. In church, if you believe even half of the stuff in this book is true, then Jesus is everything. He is the very light of this world. This is everything, and this changes everything. There is no going back to normal once the author has invaded the story. In the middle of this text in John, we hear how this goes wrong. Let me read it again. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. And so somehow the word enters in, and there are people who somehow don't realize who it really is. But can I just tell you that if you're here tonight, this is an option that you don't have. You can't unhear these scriptures. You can't unsing these songs. We have the story in front of us, and our indifference is just not an honest option, is it? We're at a place now where now we can't pretend like we didn't know. Either Jesus is the very fabric of the universe, or he isn't. Either he is God's spoken word made flesh, or he isn't. Either he is the light of the world, or he isn't. Either Jesus is everything, or he is nothing. I didn't plan on a message quite this intense for Christmas Eve, but I got into John chapter 1, and this is all that came out. I just felt like we needed to know that our indifference tonight is not really an option. I know we have some folks who are here who might make a habit of being in church every year around Christmas and Easter. And listen, I love that you're here. I want you to hear that. I love that you're here. This is you. I love that you're here. I'll take you any time that I can get you. But I'd be failing my job as a pastor if I didn't at least try to persuade you that this is everything. What we do, what churches are doing tonight, what churches are doing all over the world tonight, this thing that we do with worship and songs and prayers and teaching and fellowship and then going into our communities and serving the world, this is everything. You see, I have this belief that the author did invade the story. He did get involved to change the course of where the narrative was headed. And we may not always do it perfectly, but Jesus followers in this church and Jesus followers in this world are simply trying to honor and give their lives to the way that Jesus, the Word, has changed the story. If it was worth God's time to get involved, then it's worth my life to follow him. And guests tonight, just so you know, I'm not just harping on you. Let me put the spotlight on our regulars just for a minute. Church, Fairview Church, this is everything. This is everything whether we sing your favorite song or not. This is everything whether the coffee was good or not. This is everything whether you like the carpet color or whether you don't. This is everything whether we preach on money too much or not enough. This is everything whether you like the pastor or not. You see, if you're a guest with us this Christmas, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Here's some dirty laundry for you. Sometimes churches are petty. And I'll be really honest with you because I'm a church person. Sometimes I'm petty. And we're petty because we've lost our perspective. I can forget and we can forget that this really is everything. And so we let the little things then take us off course. But I pray that tonight we wouldn't fool ourselves into thinking indifference is an option. I pray that we wouldn't fool ourselves into thinking that we can just go back to our routines in January. I pray that the true light that gives light to everyone would shine so bright in our lives that we just could not go back to normal. And that this life, following him every day, would become our everything. Whether we're tempted to lose our perspective and get lost in the small squabbles and the small stuff, or whether we're tempted to just think we've done the Christmas thing and we're good till Easter, I pray that the author, that the Word, that Jesus himself will reveal to you that these are no longer honest options. We can't unhear the things we've heard. We can't unsing the things that we've sung. So what do you do when your boat crashes into the clouds? Do you turn around, walk back into the soundstage like it never happened? Or do you let your life be redefined by the bigger reality that's now in front of you? It's either everything or it's nothing. The true light has come into the world, and I pray that you would let your life be redefined by him.